The Cleveland Cavaliers select Evan Mobley.
Has been a historical franchise in this league for years.
We have a trade to announce. The Boston Celtics select Jason Tatum.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. We've got plenty going on in the world of the NBA. I'm Trevor Lane. You can find me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane, over on Instagram at Trevor Lane NBA. Joined by Keith Smith. You can find him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. Keith, we got a lot to dive into. We're going to start this show with the Eastern Conference. Later on, we'll be getting to the West, but there's only one place we really can't start in the East, and that's with the Simmons siren.
There it is, Simmons siren time.
You guys know you love it. The Simmons siren. We did get a bit of news today regarding Ben Simmons and his whole situation, and perhaps James Harden, maybe being involved, could be posturing. I don't know. Keith, what did we find out?
Yeah, so reporting from Shams Charania and Sam Amick from The Athletic, who've been really kind of all over this story from all sorts of angles. A lot of stuff in this piece, so I highly encourage folks to go read it themselves. But the big thing is that Daryl Morey may say, yeah, I'm good. And really may be saying I'm going to hang on till after the deadline. And the target he has in mind is James Harden. And some of the thought process that goes into that is Harden has not done an extension with the Nets. It seems pretty clear he's going to opt out. At that point, it would be some form of sign and trade, possibility where Harden signs and is traded to Philadelphia for Simmons directly or as part of a 3-team deal or something like that. So it sounds like if that's not the case, then maybe they'll move on to Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard or what other package is out there. But the main takeaway as far as today goes is they may not be doing a Simmons trade. Daryl Morey feels no pressure to get that done right now. And if he feels the better deal will be there in the summer, then let's do that deal in the summer. And this seems to be coming from rival teams as well. Some of the reporting is that it sounds like maybe a lot of times when that happens, we're not getting very far in conversations. There's not a lot of back and forth dialogue. So we'll see. And then there's a few more tidbits tucked in there that we can get into as well.
So when we look at this situation with Harden, with potentially going to the 76ers, what that might look like, we can get into there's a lot of angles to approach this from, but can the 76ers really do this? Put themselves in that spot? Because if they execute a sign and trade for James Harden over the offseason, that also means, as we all know, triggers the hard cap. Is that something financially they can pull off and still fill out the roster?
I mean, yes, because it would involve some other gymnastics. Now, Daryl Morey's pretty good at that stuff. He along with his staff, they'll have to find homes for a couple other players. But they're in a position where what you would end up with is probably a pretty top-heavy roster and see what it looks like, coming on the back end right now. As it stands today, let me pull it up because I just finished working on they'll be up on Spot Track sooner rather than later. With everything as it stands today, and this is with Simmons still on the roster because he is. If he's still on the roster next year at his number, they're about 1.5 million or so over the hard cap. So what that would mean is you would have to waive Danny Green, clear him off. He's fully non-guaranteed at 10 million. Trade Simmons, bring Harden in at his new number, which would be pushing the heck out of 50 million. It wouldn't be quite that much because he'd be changing teams. So about 42 million for Harden. But you're in range of being able to do that. And then you're just gonna kind of fill out the roster the rest of the way with minimums and other things and that's not uncommon in that spot. And that would leave you with a Embiid, Harden, Tobias Harris, Seth Curry kind of core group with a handful of others around them. So not bad, right? If that's what you're working with, I think you're in a pretty good place there. But yeah, they can. Difficult for sure, but they can get there.
To what degree do you think this is posturing? Because the article does add the little bit that unless somebody else significantly increases their offer, then maybe the 76ers will consider it. I mean, how much of this is Daryl Morey putting out there, hey guys, look, we really don't want to do it. No, I'd rather wait until Harden. Okay. Unless one of you really wants to talk me into it, then maybe we'll consider giving you Ben Simmons. I mean, this type of thing goes around this time of year. This is what happens. How much of this do you think is accurate? They actually want to wait to the offseason versus this is posturing to try to get the best deal they can?
Yeah, a little bit of all of it.
Right.
I guess is the easiest way to put that. I definitely think Morey's doing some posturing here as well of, hey, we'll just wait. There's no reason for us to move. And then you get a team like the Kings, who clearly they've been at least somewhat down the path on these discussions with, to say, all right, hey, we were holding back on this piece, but we'll add this in there. Teams that were mentioned, obviously Sacramento, Atlanta was mentioned, there. And then the Sixers asked the Kings for Tyrese Halliburton, multiple first-round picks. That would be the kind of highlight of the package there. And then for the Hawks was John Collins and multiple first-round picks. And they also want Tobias Harris moved in one of those deals as well. So that becomes a sticking point. We've talked at length already with that new team added to the list that we hadn't really heard before, the Charlotte Hornets. Getting involved there, and I wonder if that might be Miles Bridges, who's up for a new contract this summer, maybe PJ Washington, and then they've got a couple guys you could add in to balance the salary and make it work, so that could be interesting. They also mentioned Indiana had offered Domantas Sabonis, Toronto offered Pascal Siakam, but Philly doesn't feel like that's where they want to be. De'Aaron Fox was clearly mentioned as well, so I think this part of it is more of the same. It's still a lot more of, hey, teams are offering things, but we're not quite there with this. And then, let's see, where it goes. But yeah, to answer your the initial question, I mean, that's what this whole time is about right now. We start to get a little more serious on Thursday. We're about 2 weeks out from the deadline. It starts closing in. That's when we're at that point, if you start seeing a guy sit out for personal reasons or is just being held out of a game with general soreness or something, my eyebrows are raised, because I really start to wonder, is that guy really hurt, or is this a prelude to a trade? Anything right now, I think you can trust the players out for valid reasons, but we're getting into that range now for sure.
Yeah, we definitely are. This is an exciting time of the year. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of discussions taking place, but I just wanted to mention that side, the posturing side of it, because this is what happens this time of year. You're going to see sometimes even conflicting reports depending on who the source is. We already had the Kings are willing to trade De'Aaron Fox. The Kings come back. No, we're not. We're not trading him. This is what happens this time of year. And so you have to kind of read between the lines and try to figure out where's the information coming from, why, what's the purpose of it, that sort of thing. I still keep coming back to, when I look at this whole situation, are you really? I know Joel Embiid came out and said, we're good, we've got everything we need and all that. How much of that was a favor to Daryl Morey for his negotiating leverage? I don't know. But I still keep coming back to, you've got Embiid having arguably an MVP season, and you've got the East that's wide open. The entire league really is wide open. Are you really going to punt, essentially, on an opportunity to win the whole thing? Because I don't see them winning the whole thing unless they make a move here, just so you can wait until the summer, so you can get a shot at Harden. I don't know. And there's no guarantee they get Harden. They would have a chance maybe to get him. But for that unknown future this summer, are you really going to punt on some of these offers that are here? Because right now you've got $30 million sitting on your books going unused, and you could turn that into something that could potentially help you win an NBA championship. To me, that kind of lure is just, it's too strong to ignore in my mind. And maybe that's what opposing teams are thinking too. And that's why we're getting this pushback from the 76ers here, from their side, where they're saying, no, we really will wait in order to try to get those offers up. But I just think when push comes to shove, the opportunity to potentially win a championship with the right move right now is too strong to pass up.
Yeah, And I tend to agree with you more than disagree with you on that one. I think I've been there as well, especially because it's Joel Embiid with his lengthy
Yes.
injury history. I do worry, how many more great years like this are you going to get that you want to really give up one here? I think what's very interesting as we go through this is the reporting out of Philly, especially those who are closer to the team on a day-to-day basis, feel like Embiid has papered over a lot of issues that this team
Mm-hmm.
has, and that they're maybe not quite as good as their record
Oh.
seems. And that's probably adding to Morey's reluctance to say, hey, if I can't get the right guy, if I can't get a James Harden level guy now, is two pretty good players enough to lift us? Maybe not. Maybe he really does feel, hey, we've been pretty fortunate to this point, and if that's the case, then I really have no problem with waiting, right? Because if that's where you feel, you've got to kind of look at this from a standpoint of, yeah, you don't go all in because this is it. This is your last one, right? This is your last big move
Mm-hmm.
around Embiid right now. You just don't have the trade chips otherwise. So this is your all in move. If you don't feel like you can go all in this year and get there, you hold off and wait, right? It's a kind of right. A lot of this is relates back to almost like playing poker, right? You don't
Sure.
go all in until you really feel like the opportunity is there to get value out of going all in. So I get it. I tend to think they're maybe a little bit better than some of the local people, but I find it hard to argue with the local people who watch them every
Mm-hmm.
day. They're around the team every day. They have a much better sense than they either you or I do with this. But yeah, I mean, we're still here. One other little tidbit in this reporting that I thought was really interesting was there was a mention of Philly got close to acquiring Harden a year ago at the
Yeah.
trade deadline. Well, I guess before the trade deadline. And it was Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, first round picks. It got close. And what they're reporting is Tillman Fertitta approached Harden and said, which one do you prefer, Brooklyn or
Mm.
Philly? And kind of left it up to him. And then it says, there's a lot of couching after that of it's unclear if they would. Harden, it says Harden picked Brooklyn. And the Rockets preferred the Nets package over the Philly package. And there's questions of would he have moved forward if it was the package that would have sent Harden to the to the Sixers. Is that the way they would have gone? So, but I just thought that was interesting because that's the first time I think we've heard that part of this whole process.
I'm still surprised that the Rockets would have preferred the Nets package over over that 76ers package based on the way things look. That doesn't seem to make sense from my perspective. But again, they had their reasons at the moment. Sometimes things look a little bit different in hindsight. But yeah, I do wonder if that could be a factor here at all, and certainly something to consider. We'll see where this goes. Obviously, we still have a little bit of time until the trade deadline, but man, this is going to be an interesting negotiation. I think this may go all the way up until the wire in terms of whether or not this actually gets done, which means on the 10th, Keith, you and I, who knows, maybe it breaks while we're live that day. It could happen.
Be amazing.
That would be.
That would be great. I would love it.
All right, let's get into something that we don't love. Grayson Allen. I'm just going to leave it right there. Just something we don't love. Grayson Allen. No. So he got suspended. No,
fans are going to come for
that's
you.
Okay. I don't mind based on what the Milwaukee Bucks did on social media this weekend.
Sure. Yeah.
That was not
a good look.
Not a good look at all.
Now, I will say I talked to someone who runs a team account. So, let's get into what happened. So Grayson Allen flagrantly fouled Alex Caruso on a play where Caruso was going up. Those who are supporting Grayson Allen in the Bucks will say he got the ball. Absolutely did with his left hand. And then his right hand came swing, and it was still a foul. He did get the ball, fouled Caruso, but then his right arm came swinging through, wiped Caruso out. Caruso went down. He was down for a while, got up, took 2 free throws with a fractured wrist, missed them both, and now he's out 6 to 8 weeks. He left the game immediately after. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. So I think then the Bucks the next morning, because they played a back-to-back, tweeted, every team does this, but some version of, hey, it's game day, wake up. And it was Grayson Allen eating a donut.
Right.
Now, I talked to a friend of mine who runs one of those accounts for another team in the league. No, it's not the Bucks, and said that she was willing to bet that it was scheduled that had been scheduled for probably a week. Generally, they'll map out those kind of more evergreen kind of things, a week in advance, had it all scheduled and ready to go out, and nobody bothered to check to make sure, hey, what's our tweet tomorrow morning? Sure. And she said, and I can guarantee you there is now a check on every tweet that is going out from the Bucks account. So that's, that part is, it was a bad look. The Bulls replied with seriously.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which I thought was kind of funny. Also sad, but funny. A lot of reporting. Mark Stein, I think, was one of the ones predominantly on this. Woj was on it too, that Chicago and other teams are not happy because Grayson Allen got a 1-game suspension, and that's it. He was ejected from the game. We should be clear about that. They gave him a flagrant 2 foul, which is an automatic ejection. But then he's going to get a 1-game suspension, which will, I think Wednesday is when that will happen. I think it's when they play next, because they did play after, but he did not play in that game. He was injured and unable to play. So there's a lot of people who feel he should have been suspended longer. Yep. Some took it as far as he should be out as long as
that's not. I've seen that sentiment.
Alex Caruso is out.
That's not how things work.
Yeah, that's not a thing. I mean, that's just was never going to happen that way. But yeah, I think it is. I think it is. This 1 game. I mean, it kind of the precedent was set with Jokic got a game for shoving Markieff Morris. Yeah, I get it. The whole balance history should be taken in. A lot of that history, unfortunately, if you're not a fan, didn't happen in the NBA.
It was in college.
It was a 2. So that's hard to factor that in too much as well. So, but yeah, there we are. It's he's suspended for a game.
And here's the thing: I think that look, Grayson Allen as a player, I think he's better than people give him credit for. I think that what happens is people remember him from his college days. People think, oh, I don't like that guy because he did this, that, or the other, and then they let that leak into their perception of him as a player. And I think as a player, he's been a positive for the Bucks this season. He certainly helped them out. I come back to obviously the tweet. I didn't think that was a good look for the Bucks, and maybe it was scheduled in advance. Maybe it was, and that's certainly possible. But then to issue the statement after the suspension, when the general sentiment around the NBA was that he should have been suspended for longer, the audacity to come out here and issue a statement complaining that he was suspended for a game, that's beyond belief. Yeah,
that part is not cool, and I'm big on have your players back, support them, and all this stuff. But this was one, just let it go. Yep. There was no reason to say anything. And if you felt the need to, just say, we'll accept the NBA's punishment.
Yes, exactly.
We hope we can move past this. Also, what harm is there in adding something in there of, we hope Alex Caruso, recovers, as quickly and to the best of his ability as possible, something like that. And it'll be, it's not going to be received well. It's to some extent, I think, a throwaway line. But yeah, I mean, and to your point of him being a good player, Grayson Allen's averaging 11.8 points per game this year, 39% from 3. It's his 3rd straight year where he's been 40, 39 as a 3-point shooter. He's really turned himself into a good rotation player. And beyond that, he doesn't need to be doing this crap. Just play. Like, he's too good for this stuff. He's not a, one of these guys who's only hanging in the league because he's an irritant and he's a tough guy and, all these other things that you hear. Like, he can actually play. And that's, I think, for me, what becomes a real disappointing part is, like, it overshadows that you can play because you continually act like a jerk and do stupid, dangerous stuff that's, I was going to say gonna get somebody hurt, but it did get somebody hurt. So, let's go to the Bulls.
Let's do it. Let's get more optimistic, man.
Yeah, well, let's Caruso out 6 to 8 weeks. That sucks. Lonzo Ball's out 6 to 8 weeks.
Before we get optimistic.
They're down those 2 guys for sure. But on the optimistic side, it sounds like Zach LaVine's going to be back this week, and we're recording this on Monday, maybe even as early as today. Zach LaVine may play. They hadn't ruled him out yet for today's game. It's a back-to-back, so they don't have to issue the early injury report. That'll come out sometime on Monday late afternoon. But yeah, it sounds like Zach LaVine is close, and that's huge for the Bulls because they are really struggling right now. They have started to slip in the standings. Some let me make sure I'm correct on this. Yeah, they're 3-7 in their last 10. I want to say they're like 11 losses in 14 games or something along those lines. they're 28-17. They're now
Dropped to
behind
third.
the Heat and the Nets, tied with the Bucks. In terms of games back. So yeah, so it started to really slip. Got drilled by the Orlando Magic in their last game. So yeah, so they need Zach LaVine back in a big way.
Yeah, and this is something that obviously it's positive that Zach LaVine may be back tonight. So we'd love to see that. But yeah, the Bulls are sliding right now. And a lot of this is due to injuries and things of that nature. So hopefully Zach LaVine can get back and help stabilize them a little bit, because this team has been a very, very fun team. They've been a pleasant surprise in the Eastern Conference this season. But of course, we talked about this the other day. As frustrating as it can be to watch the team slide, and I'm sure Bulls fans right now are going, oh my gosh, we dropped to third. The most important thing is that this team gets healthy. Whether they finish in the 3rd seed, the 4th seed, the 1 seed, whatever, they've got to do what they need to do in order to be healthy. Because we know this can be potentially the top team in the conference. The top team in the conference. From there, they've proven that. From there, it's about making sure that injuries don't derail things come playoff time. So if I'm the Bulls, and again, I already said this last show, but I am erring on the side of caution here with any of these players who are injured. Great news that Zach LaVine is on his way back, but if he is even a little bit iffy, I'm going to wait until next game to bring him back.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason. And reality is, even down this many guys, they should hopefully have enough to beat the Thunder. We'll see what that looks like. But yeah. Where are we going next?
Next up, we do need to go to, Lauri Markkanen. I forgot. I knew we had something else negative that was coming up here, and sure enough, another injury. Lauri Markkanen. That ankle sprain was not pleasant to watch, and he's out. I don't have a timetable as of this point, but this is a tough blow for the Cavs team that, like the Bulls, has already dealt with a number of injuries this season. Of course, losing Colin Sexton for the season. A big part of their success, too, has been kind of bucking the trend and going big with Markkanen as essentially their 3. And now he's going to be out for a while, I'd have to imagine.
Yeah, they said post-game JB Bickerstaff, their head coach, said it looked like a high ankle sprain to him, which is if you saw it, that's actually good news, because it looked way worse when it happened. He had to be basically almost carried off the court by Jetty Osman and Dean Wade, 2 of their backups. And that's a spot, again, that wing spot, even though Markkanen's kind of like a super jumbo wing, they just don't have a lot of depth. It's basically Isaac Okoro, who's back and starting, Jetty Osman, and Lamar Stevens. And that's kind of it. Dylan Windler will play on occasion. When they were down guys earlier this year, Dean Wade started games. It's probably not going to be Kevin Love. They like him in that bench role. They like him kind of rotating with Allen and Mobley in their 3 big rotations. So don't be surprised if Dean Wade slides back in there. Big guy, kind of can fill the Markkanen role-ish and do a lot of the same sets and run a lot of the same actions that they run with Markkanen versus them going to somebody else. But maybe push them a little closer to pushing to get a more traditional wing in there, at least to help out until Markkanen is back, and then give them a little bit of 2-3 depth. But yeah, the Cavs are just, like they have been for a while, they're just going to have to keep getting through it as best they can.
And high ankle sprain, it's a type of injury. It's interesting in that once you're back, you're not really back. It's the kind of injury that robs you a lot of your burst and your athleticism. We see it in running backs in the NFL all the time, where they get a high ankle sprain, they come back, and then it's another 4-ish weeks, sometimes a little more, before they really look like themselves in terms of burst. And so for Markkanen, maybe he gets back on the court, however long it is, he gets back on the court, and then it's going to take a little while for him to truly get back to being himself. So that's going to be another hurdle for the Cavs to navigate. Now, it's possible, given his size and everything, that he can shoot over guys and mitigate some of that, but it's still something to keep an eye on moving forward here for the Cavs. Even once he gets back, I don't know if I'm going to look at this Cavs team as truly 100%, because I don't think he will be, if it is a high ankle sprain, 100% even after he gets back on the floor. It's going to take a while to truly get the burst back, the jump back, all of that.
Yeah, as far as any kind of timeline, all the Cavs have said is he's out for tonight's game, Monday night against the New York Knicks. So we'll see from there.
All right. Well, from there, we do need to talk about the Western Conference. We're going to get to that on our next video, though. So that's going to be coming out a little bit later today. We've got a lot to break down. Damian Lillard, all kinds of stuff on the Lakers, the Houston Rockets. We've got things going on with maybe Robert Covington, the Utah Jazz. Lots of stuff to get into on our second show for today because there's so much going on leading to the trade deadline. We had to do two. So keep an eye out for that video as well because that's going to be coming along shortly. Till then, everybody, make sure you do subscribe and then turn on those notifications so you get notified every time we put out a new video. See ya and stay safe.